Well, guys, here's the new vacuum chamber that I built. There's the lid, and you can see it's way over thick, but that's what I had, so that's what I used. And there's the chamber. Now you can see I've got a plastic bag in there from my previous use. I just put that in there as a safety measure to try and catch any overflow in case it happened, which it didn't. One thing nice about this build is there's another chamber I have. It's the same diameter top but shorter in case I want to use that for other work. And here's the vacuum pump system. So there's a little gassed vane type vacuum pump. I have that going to a switched outlet here, and you could buy those at Lowe's or any place. And that's where power comes in, so I have it plugged into the wall there. And then from there I broke the circuit into this vacuum switch. And that thing goes through the hose right back to the chamber lid. So that's how it senses the vacuum, and all that switch does is just on or off at a set point. You take the cover off and you can set it wherever you have to. And this guy in the middle there, that white thing, is a check valve. And that is a PVC check valve. Works very well. I had to machine those two adapter ends and glue them in place, and that's a 1/8 pipe tap, so I can put my hose barbs in there. So the pump through that line pulls on the check valve, which then goes to the lid. And that valve on the top of that T, it allows me to let the vacuum dissipate when I want to lift the lid off, of course. And it works really well. I've already used it once, and the attempt I didn't come out quite the way I wanted it to be. So that was mainly because the epoxy that I used was too thick. I use this stuff here, and it turns out that was just too thick. So next I found I still have some of this stuff here, the System 3 stuff, which is more or less for coating. But since I already have it, I'm going to try it because it's really a whole lot thinner. This stuff is like water. And what you see there is going to be totally mixed together. That's the remnants. Partly I'm going to use it because the epoxy hardener is actually starting to weep out the bottom. That's how old it is. So I think I'm going to get rid of it and try it and see if it works. I have other stuff coming that should be equally thin. It's called Clear Cast 7000, and I'll see how that works. But here was my first attempt that I did with the vacuum chamber. I'll set it up here. And the stuff was just too thick. Now, if you look there carefully, and it's hard to tell on video, I'm sure, but there are no bubbles. Now, when I did it, it was upside down. So right now you're seeing it what you'd call right side up. And the epoxy did not flow to the center. So there was some that tried to creep in there, so I turned that down with a lathe. And now I want to try soaking it in with this watery stuff from the center. So I'm going to fill that up. And the duct tape is just a dam to try and keep it all in the center. And then we're going to throw it back in the vacuum chamber, and we'll see what happens. So that's going to be my next thing. I'm going to mix up some stuff and bring it back, and we're going to do a test. Okay guys, I'm back, and I've mixed this continuously for about 2 minutes. So you see I've set the piece in place already. I figured it's easier than trying to fill it and then move it. And I'm going to try filling it in the chamber. So let's go with this first. I hopefully have plenty here. It's a lot more fluid than the other stuff was, and that's what I'm looking for. So, well, let's just call this first fill. Because I'm expecting we'll have to do this in stages. Now, all I have to do, put this lid on, and hopefully you can see. Maybe I might have to move you, or maybe that'll be okay. Yeah, we'll have to deal with it. Anyway, hopefully you can see that. There are some bubbles coming up already. So I'm going to turn the pump on, and I can do this in stages. Okay, we're getting bubbles. I'm about 5 inches, 7. Let's stop around 8. And let that work a little bit. Hopefully you can see that that is bubbling a bit. Let's see if I can move you around for a little better shot here without making you nauseous when I move the camera. But it's bubbling, and that's what we want to see. So it's not getting out of hand. Let's give it some more here. This will pull down to about 20 inches and then it shuts off. And if I see that's not sufficient, I have another pump I can put in place that will pull it a little harder. But this is doing a lot more foaming action than I had out of the previous attempt. And that's a good sign. It's not going to over foam, which was one of my concerns, so we'll just let it go up to the 20 here and let it rest. And see, you can tell that the pump shuts off automatically and it'll hold it there. So now that's the chamber in action. And it'll hold this vacuum very nicely. I tried the other day, shut the pump right off, and I come down close to 2 hours later and it only went from 20 to 15 inches of vacuum. So it's a pretty good seal. And that's the little presentation. Hope you like it. See you later. Hi, I wanted to show you here after about 40-45 minutes. It's still foaming, and it's foaming a lot more than it was initially. And I have difficulty seeing through some of this because there's a residue building up on the inside of the lid here. I hope that's just water vapor and not something with the epoxy is going to stick. But I guess that's part of what we'll learn. But anyway, you can certainly see that it's foamed up quite a bit more, and it's still pulling bubbles up. So I guess that's another good point, is that when you use this method, you have to use a slow setting epoxy. This stuff is that System 3 clear coat, not really intended for casting, but I think it should work for this. But yeah, you want to make sure you get a very fluidy epoxy, and that it is a slow setting one. Anyway, we'll see what happens.